So where I think people get lost on this concept of NFTs or on blockchain is making the next transition, which is to digital. And so we understand what it's like to have a scarce physical resource like a Viper, like a Rolex, like a Mona Lisa, but it's hard to bridge the next gap, I think, at least for old people like me, to bridge the gap to digital.
Right.
And because I can't think about, I have a hard time understanding that I could own something digitally.
Right.
And yet,
can we time out?
Yeah.
Can we, I want to give some context to the, so what spurred this conversation was that I needed clarity around a painting that just sold for how much? A digital?
So artwork, $69.5 million roughly.
So a digital painting, like a screenshot, sold for $69 million.
Yeah.
And so I'm on this journey, my wealth journey, and I'm kind of at the bottom and I don't understand that. So I asked Eric, explain this to me. So he did a really good job explaining this. So can you start there?
Yeah, absolutely. So recently Christie's auction house had this art auction for digital art. And digital art sounds really weird, right? Or not weird, but it's certainly much different than a physical Mona Lisa painting, right?
Yeah.
And
it's a picture of
it quite literally could be on your phone, your screensaver, or it could be a JPEG.
I can take a picture with my phone and that's digital art.
Correct. And so here's where blockchain technology becomes in the concept of why that artwork sold for $69 million. Now, I have no idea whether that was actually what it should have sold for or not. I'm not in the art valuation space. But here's why it had value. So if you take a picture of something and you send it to me, and then I send it to 10 other people, post it on social media, it goes viral, it ends up in distribution to 3 million people, who had the original?
You do the original person.
Yeah, the person who took the photo.
Yes.
Okay. How do we distinguish between if that becomes really viral and then becomes valuable because the network effect?
Right.
700 million people now are aware of this photo, let's say, which means the original likely now has some value in the collector's story space.
Right.
How do I determine who the original owner is? Because you took the original photo and sent it to me. Right. And then I sent it to someone else, and then the mass distribution occurred somewhere in that chain.
Right.
Well, maybe I have the second most indisputable original file because you're the first, you sent it to me first.
Right.
But somewhere along the chain, it gets significantly watered down as to who has the original digital copy versus who has all these extra of copies of copies of copies of copies of copies.
And the value's in the story.
That's right. And if no one has the original, then the value is significantly lessened and watered down all throughout that chain. And so what you find is that almost nothing has value digitally at this point in time until the premise of NFTs came along, which was to differentiate the original from the mass duplicated copies that were distributed virally or on social media or everywhere else.
So now you have an original.
That's right. So the artist who created this, $70 million art, Beeple
I wish he would give me a loan. I could use some of that money.
Right. So Beeple is the artist who was on exhibit. So Beeple is able to sell the original digital copy of this through the technology process of non-fungible tokens, which is essentially nothing more than an immutable public distributed ledger of information. So if you're not familiar with the concept of a public immutable distributed ledger, imagine it being that if you could have the most primitive way of creating a ledger, it would be Moses and the scrolls.
Right.
because there are a lot of easy ways to knock off Moses's scrolls.
Right.
And the best way to prove trust is if everyone had a copy of Moses's original scroll.
Right.
And then anytime there was a new entry into the scroll, everyone updated their copy of the scroll.
Got it.
And therefore, if at any point in time someone attempted to put an entry into the scroll that was not accurate,
everybody would know.
Everyone would know, because it was a publicly distributed copy of the accurate information. And so through what it amounts to be basically a public verification process, you can have the checks and balances of knowing what is the original based on consensus.
Yeah.
That is not susceptible to people.
Got it.
Choosing to hack
it's like Wikipedia. I mean, it can change right there in front of everybody.
Money, cash, can be counterfeit. Right. Yeah. The government has governments for as long as society has existed have always battled counterfeit money.
Right. And
the concept of blockchain technology being currency,
right,
is an attempt to slow down or stop altogether counterfeiting in general.
When we're thinking about this, and my noodle gets going, I start thinking, and it sounds absolutely ridiculous that somebody pays $69 million for a piece of art or a piece of digital art, a screenshot. But then the more I think about it, if you rewind yourself back, however many thousands a year the Mona Lisa was, it's literally a piece of canvas with pigment.
That's right. It's a piece of cotton, right? Or
back
fabric.
then, somebody was like, dude, somebody's going to pay what for that? She's not even that hot.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm sorry.
For real. Absolutely.
So it's so hard because we're like fast forward however many years, and it's just like, oh.
So I'm 100% with you. When you go down the path of logic versus irrational belief systems that we've just all inherited.
We just do.
It's hard to make the next leap to understanding digital value.